The following podcast is a presentation of Project Entertainment Network.
Welcome to the Sample Chapter Podcast, the show where authors read a sample chapter from one of their books. Here's your host, Jason A. Meiske.
Apocalyptic thrills and chills and flesh-eating raptors, oh my. It's bonus episode time with friend of the show and returning guest, Lucas Mangum, for episode 143, and I cannot wait to get into this. I had a great time chatting with Lucas about revising old stories, changing our lifestyles and parenting advice during the pandemic, finding an editor, developing three-dimensional characters and stories, and so much more. As well as, of course, we discuss his latest work, Extinction, which debuts on October 15th. But coming up, there is a pre-order special going on at Madness Heart Press. It's going to be happening this weekend, which is why we've got Lucas here for a bonus episode. And believe me when I tell you, it's a great offer. You're going to hear what the offer is during the episode, so you want to check that out. Last time I checked, before recording this, the offer at Madness Heart was not up yet. The pre-order offer was not up yet. But suffice to say, if you pre-order through Madness Heart Press, you're going to get something really special, and I think you're going to want to check that out. So make sure you keep clicking the link in the show notes to get back over to Madness Heart, or you can follow Madness Heart Press on social media, or Lucas Mangum on social media, and I'm sure they're going to share it once it goes live. But sometime either today, Friday the 9th, or this weekend, that's going to be happening. And like I said, believe me, you don't want to miss out on it. It's going to be really, really good. All of that and a sample chapter reading from Lucas Mangum coming up here in just a minute, so stay tuned. Hey, as for this show, oh my goodness, do I have a month of sample chapter goodness for you. As of right now, so long as I can continue to handle the pressure, I'll be presenting bonus episodes each week all month long. So we have your regular episodes on Tuesdays, and then a bonus episode coming out each Friday all this month, starting right now with Lucas, and then going on throughout the rest of the month. There's just been so many authors reaching out to the show, and I can't say no. I can't say no. So I'm bringing on as many as I can, and many of them are coming on due to publishing guidelines or publishing schedules. So that's why they are being presented when they are, and I'm cool with that. If I can make it work, then I will. But there's so many great ones coming up, and don't forget this, our very special guest episode with actor and now author Lou Diamond Phillips is coming up on October 20th. I don't advertise the episodes unless they've been recorded, and that one's been done. I had a great time talking with him, and you don't want to miss that episode. Hey, Lou Diamond Phillips is going to be reading a sample chapter from his book. So for that alone, it's going to be really cool. Anyway, all of that is coming up throughout this month, so make sure you're hitting that subscribe button so you don't miss out each week. Meanwhile, I want to say thank you to our sponsor, Scrivener, a long-time sponsor with the show, and software that I use every day with my writing. I have a couple of things coming up soon where I'll be doing a little bit of traveling, but it's nice to know that while I'm gone, I can pull up Scrivener anywhere I go and get right back into my story wherever I left it. And it can be whatever story. I've got 3 or 4 stories saved right now within my Scrivener, and whichever one I'm opening up, I know I've got my background information, the character information. If I'm planning it out, all the notes are there. Everything you need is right there in that cork board in that side panel, and it's customizable. You can always change how you present the information for yourself. So make sure you check out this advertisement for Scrivener writing software, and pay particular attention to the coupon code so you can save yourself 20% on the regular desktop version. Jason here. Hey, I wanted to take a moment and tell you about my favorite writing tool, Scrivener. Now, I know you've heard about Scrivener because their writing software has been embraced by hundreds of thousands of other writers like you and I, from the novice to best-selling novelists. The reason we all use it is because of Scrivener's core concept to bring all the writing tools you use together in a single application. And with tools like automatic backup, character maps, project goals, and let's not forget that amazing corkboard, you can see why I use Scrivener every day. As a bonus for Sample Chapter Podcast listeners, use code CHAPTER for 20% off your desktop version. Scrivener writing software, built by writers for writers. Yes, again, thank you so much, Scrivener. I really appreciate you being a wonderful sponsor of the show. Next up, I want to thank Pop Goes the Culture Podcast and Network over at popgoestheculture.com. That is the network that we first became a part of about, this January will be 2 years ago. And they are just full of fantastic pop culture shows. About 10 different shows going on over there right now. Everything movie, TV, pop culture related. All that news is right there at your fingertips at popgoestheculture.com, including their flagship, Pop Goes the Culture Podcast, which is recorded live every Thursday night, and you can participate by checking them out online. And then the episode comes out the next morning on Friday. They do all kinds of special things throughout the week, so make sure you're checking out that link in the show notes to find out what you might be able to join. I also want to thank Project Entertainment Network, my other podcast network that I'm so happy to be a part of. With more than 35 shows in the network, they have everything to satiate your podcast thirst. Wow, that was deep. Your podcast hunger. It is way early in the morning, and I have not had coffee yet, so forgive me. But Project Entertainment literally has anything you could be looking for right there within the network. Not only my own show, but 34 other shows. Shows like this one that you're about to hear an advertisement for.
Hi, I'm John Baldisberger, host of Madness Heart Radio. Join me each week as I discuss writing, living, life, and horror with some of the coolest people in the industry. Talk to writers, directors, actors, and really anyone at all that's involved in scaring people's pants off. Can't wait for you to join us, but until then, stay safe, but stay scared.
Great show, and one that you definitely need to check out. So once again, check out that link in the show notes and see everything that Project Entertainment Network has to offer. Earlier on, I mentioned following on social media for Madness Heart Press and Lucas Mangum. Links are in the show notes, and make sure you are also following our podcast networks and sponsors alike, as well as this show. We are all on social media. The Sample Chapter Podcast is all you have to look for on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram now. You can follow us there. We post regularly, and including some back episodes, which is always fun to go back and check those out. If you want to reach out to the show, you can do so via email at samplechapterpodcast@gmail.com, or you can drop me a voicemail at 660-851-1146. And as always, if I like your voicemail, I may be playing it on the very next episode. So drop me a line. All right, it is time to get us on over to that incredible Splatterpunk Award-nominated author, Lucas Mangum. Hello, Sample Chapter listeners. Welcome back to another exciting episode. Yes, that's right. It is exciting. It's thrilling. It is everything that comes when you think about Lucas Mangum. Back on the show, he was last with us on episode 76 back in July of 2019, so a little over a year ago. We were talking about Saint Sadist, and actually, if you are a fan of the Project Entertainment Network, then you are also aware that he was recently on Matters of Faith with Jay Wilburn, so that was really cool. Needless to say, he's here today. We're going to be talking about his twisted tales and everything going on in his life. Lucas, welcome back to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Jason. It's good to be back.
I'm thrilled to have you here, and I cannot wait to hear about this exciting new story you've got going on. But how have you been, man?
I've been pretty good. The lockdown's been a little challenging, as it has been for everybody, I'm sure. But it's on the flip side, it's forced me to be a lot more regimented when it comes to when I get my writing in, and and how I kind of compartmentalize things throughout the day. Whereas normally I was kind of just I don't know, I would just kind of wing it. But now it's like, okay, like I need to actually adhere to a routine in order to get all the things done in a day, actually be a good parent and do my day job and then get the writing in. So it's it's definitely forced me to be more focused, which is, I guess that's the flip side of it, but it still sucks that you can't just go to the movies or something.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's nice because we're all a little more structured, perhaps, going through all this. We're learning more about ourselves, but man, I miss going to the movies. Although I have had a chance to introduce my kids to the drive-in a little more since this has all happened. We actually found one a couple years ago, and we'd go like once a year, but now we've been several times, and that's a blast.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. I've never been to a drive-in. I've always wanted to go. I just haven't really lived around many. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's one around Austin. Austin is like, they're all about bringing back the cool stuff.
Awesome. So let's see. Last time you were here, we were talking about Saint Sadist that came out. How'd the release go, and how's the book going for you?
It's going pretty well. I got nominated for a Splatterpunk award for best novella.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and so that was a really nice. I don't know. It was just ridiculously, humbling and wonderful and validating all at the same time. I knew they were counting the the people who recommended people who had recommended it throughout the year or whatever, and then Brian Keene of all people sends me a message on Twitter, and he's like, congratulations, you are now one of the nominees in the novella category. And I was just like, this is so cool. Yeah. And I don't know, it was stiff competition. I didn't win the award, but I mean, I'm cool with just being nominated, especially I was going up against Ed Lee and Wesley Southard and Matt Shaw, all these heavy hitters in kind of extreme horror and splatterpunk. So I was just to be even among that group was just a huge honor for me.
Yeah, that was crazy. If I remember correctly, I think Ed Lee won that, didn't he?
This year it was he got a Lifetime Achievement Award.
Oh, okay. Maybe I think
and then Wesley Southard's One for the Road won in the novella category.
Wow. But still, I mean, like you said, I mean, it's to get nominated is still a great honor, and those first couple of times that comes around, that's great. After a while, it's got to be like, all right, come on, where is it? When's my turn?
Oh yeah, no, totally. It's great to be nominated, but you also don't want to be Martin Scorsese, get nominated however many years and never win until you're already I don't know, 60 or something.
Well, the nice thing too about that is I see that you get to roll that honor into future works. I see that you've got the revised edition of Mania came out back in May, and so right there on the cover, Splatterpunk award nominated author Lucas Mangums. That's got to be pretty exciting.
It's super exciting, just to be able to say that as I don't know, it definitely brings an extra energy to it, now it's I'm not just an author, okay, I'm an award nominated author, so clearly I'm doing something right, and that, that's always a nice feeling.
That's awesome though. And I don't remember when you were here last time if we talked about Mania, so go ahead and tell us about Mania.
Yeah, so Mania is a kind of it's a novel in like kind of the tradition of like like Ring and John Carpenter's Cigarette Burns, kind of the cursed media kind of subgenre, which is a small but I would say very strong subgenre. It's about a cursed screenplay. Everyone who tries to film it either dies or loses their mind. And it's the main character is this kind of controversial filmmaker who's looking to make his comeback after a few years off, and he hears about Mania, the cursed screenplay, and thinks he's like, I want to take it on because I don't believe in curses, but I mean I like hype, And yeah, of course, the curse turns out to be all too real. And then there's like some fun ghost action, and there's a cult running around and stuff. It's all kinds of fun.
Well, that's a cool story, though. So now, what went into the revised edition? I never get to talk about revisions really on the show. So how did this change?
So the original version came out in late 2016, early 2017. And it was one of those books that, like, people were still, contacting me about and saying, I really liked this book, but there's some typos, and you only hear that so many times before you're just like, you know what, maybe I should just put another version out there, and I used that opportunity to kind of tighten some of the storytelling, and I added a new short story, which kind of serves as an epilogue as well. So it was fun just kind of going through it again. I brought, a professional editor on, so it wasn't just me, like, cause I feel like you like miss half the stuff if you, read your own stuff,
Mm-hmm.
over. And yeah, we put together something that I thought was really worth revisiting, and yeah, that was the first time I worked with Madness Heart Press. We had decided to put it out, and because of how much how well they treated it, I decided to go with them for my upcoming book, Extinction Peak.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah,
wow.
Definitely.
Yeah, that was something that I experienced with my first book, because I was the only one looking at it. I was the only one doing anything with it, and I ran it through some automatic checkers to just look for any errors and whatever, and then I just hit publish on Amazon. I was so sick of it and tired of it. I was like, yeah, there we go, it's done. And when I got my first copy of it, came in the mail, I showed it to my wife, and she sat down to read it, and she's famously got like a chapter or two chapters in, and she goes, wait, you haven't published this yet, right?
Oh, man.
And, yeah, she was pulling out the red ink and went through it, and I was like, okay, give me a list, and I'll go through and fix things. So fortunately,
that was good.
Yeah.
That was good. Yeah.
But I learned my lessons. Like, yeah, you need to get some other eyes on it.
Definitely. And I mean, yeah, and there are some, I would say some reasonably priced, but still very good editors out there. Like if you have to do, go that route, yeah, it's just, you just gotta, look for the testimonials and, and look at their previous work and be like, okay, like they seem like they're good at what they do. And yeah.
That's all. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that for myself here once I get ready for my next one. So
Yeah,
tell us about Extinction Peak. This sounds incredible.
I am like ridiculously excited for this book. I've wanted to write a dinosaur thing for a really long time, and even this book, it actually kind of took a while, to really get it right. I ended up working on it for 5 years. The first draft I finished in like 2015, and it just wasn't ready. It just, giant monsters, whether they be dinosaurs or kaiju or, squids. I wouldn't recommend a new writer trying to mess around with giant monster stuff, because it can be very difficult to write. That was something I learned real quick. Like I was looking at it and I was like, there's all these like stuff where it's like, you know, in your big action scenes, you're like, you want people to see certain things, and I don't know if it was a confidence thing or a knowledge thing, but I just wasn't able to deliver that in a way that I thought was satisfying at the time. And so I put it away for a while, you know, but the excitement for the basic idea, you know, stuck with me. I mean, because it's, you know, dinosaurs coming out of the ground and eating people. It's like those you know, those dinosaurs attack cards from the 80s. And yeah, I started thinking about it on and off, you know, as I was working on other things. And in, let's see, the fall of 2018, I listened to the audiobook for Cormac McCarthy's Blood Meridian, and like the vibe of that book, like, even though it's, you know, a Western, it feels very much like an apocalyptic novel, and it feels very cinematic while also feeling like very literary. And I was just like, for some reason, something clicked. Like, I mean, they're not really anything alike, of course, but like but something about like the tone I really liked, and I wanted to kind of bring that to Extinction Peak. Like I was like, okay, I have this huge, like, you know, action story with, you know, dinosaurs eating people, but like, how do I want to portray that? Like, what's the aesthetic going to be like? And I think I think that was when it really kind of came together for me. I did a lot of, I came up with the first line pretty quickly, you know, after that. And I kind of sat with that for a while, and then finally got to like really work on it pretty heavily throughout 2019, and yeah, came out with something that I felt was ready for the world to see.
That's awesome. Well, yeah. So now what is the? Can you give us a little bit of like what is the story? Like what's
Sure.
happening?
Yeah, so basically, like, after these dinosaurs start coming out of sinkholes across the world and destroying everything, this brother and sister decide to try to go rob the mansion of a corrupt senator, because they, you know, they're like, well, if things come back together, we want to have some money, you know. But the mansion turns out not to be abandoned at all, and some of the things going on inside that mansion are a lot scarier than dinosaurs. Yeah, it just kind of it gets it gets pretty wild. A lot of shit hitting the fan.
Oh, that's awesome. So when you first got the idea for something, I know you talked about always wanting to write something in the dinosaur range. What was that like first idea?
Yeah, so I had a very distinct or a very like vivid dream about dinosaurs coming out of the ground and attacking a small town, and that was kind of what the initial incarnation of the book was. But I just didn't have very interesting characters, to be quite frank. And I liked some of the pieces, but I didn't have a good through line, I think. Like, I think it was simplistic, but like to a fault. Like, I didn't feel like there was a lot of meat. I mean, despite the copious amounts of flesh eating. But yeah, I think I managed to fix that with this draft. You know, getting these two characters who I thought were kind of interesting, and giving them this goal, and having things go horribly wrong. Because it's like, you know, I mean, yeah, the dinosaurs are cool, but it's like, you know, you can, you know, any monster is cool, but if you're not if you don't have like really interesting people getting eaten or fighting the monsters, it's kind of it's not going to read very well, I don't think.
Yeah. It sounds like had you like pushed it hard and put the book out right away with that first idea, it might have been very one-dimensional and just kind of done and over with. Whereas taking your time like you did and giving it some more time for more inspiration gave you these other characters so you can bring it into more of a 3-dimension and that through line and the characters and other stuff. So that sounds like it was well worth the time.
Yeah, it definitely was. Like it was, I mean, thankfully, because like the idea excited me so much, I was able to, stick with it through those years. I think, I mean, I'm sure we've all got, abandoned projects on our hard drive, because we're like, you know what, this is taking too long and I'm not having fun anymore, But this one was one where I was like, okay, it's taking a long time. I'm not having fun right now, but let's put it away for a while and let's continue to think about it and, read some other stuff, maybe even stuff outside the genre, and try to figure out where to go, where it needs to go. I mean, because the guy who wrote Gods of the Dark Web, one of my earlier books, like I don't think is the right guy to write Extinction Peak, even though it's the same guy. But I learned so much between those books that I think like, yeah, I mean, I had to like wait till I was ready to attack something that was so like, I don't know, like a little more epic in scope, I guess.
Yeah, and you've grown.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. But that's good though. I mean, that's something I've come to be aware of myself, is I've always wanted to write a werewolf story. And I've tried a couple years back and like 20 years ago I tried to make one. But like now, knowing my skill levels, knowing where I am, I'm like, I'm not ready. Because I want to do it justice. I want to do a good werewolf story sometime. And I want to wait until I have my skill level up a little bit and the ability to tell a good story. And I don't think the idea I have is what I'm looking for. Yeah,
I'm kind of in that boat with not with a particular idea, but like I would like to write at least one like doorstop of a novel, like one of those like 700-page things that like you could probably murder somebody with, I've always wanted to write one of those, but I'm just like, it's not time yet. Like I just know, like I don't know. You've got to come, like for me, it's like it can't just be like a novella, but like really fattened up. Like it has to be something. It has to, right. It has to earn that length, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's got to have that substance.
Yeah,
exactly. Do you write one at a time? Do you like stick it out until it's done, or do you go to something else?
I used to juggle a lot. Lately, I haven't been doing that. I guess going back to like how more focused I've been lately. The last few projects have been very like, yeah, I'm going to write this to the end. Like, and sometimes that means like taking a break and not working on anything for a few days or whatever. But, yeah, I feel like staying in that headspace, at least for where I am right now, like, staying in that headspace of required to write the book, like it's good for me to like stay there and immerse myself in it, and like maybe like kind of think things will come to me because I'm always thinking about it, and because like even if I take a few days from writing it, like I'll still be thinking about it instead of working on something else, and so there I think other opportunities will present themselves within that work as opposed to me like stopping and then running off and doing something else, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. It does.
Cool.
Well, I understand that Madness Heart Press is they've got a lot of plans for the release coming up.
Oh yeah. They're doing they're doing a couple things. So first, I believe the weekend before the release date. The release date's October 15th, but the weekend before, I think, is when it goes up for pre-order. And they're going to, if you pre-order it from them directly, you'll get Extinction Peak signed, and you'll also get a digital edition of their new anthology, Devour the Earth, which is a kaiju-themed anthology. So that's pretty fun. And on the release day, they actually both come out on the same day, October 15th. They're doing basically an event on their Twitch channel. It's I think they're calling it Fall of the Kaiju, and basically myself, a bunch of contributors to that anthology, and John, who runs Madness Heart Press, we're going to be on his Twitch channel doing interviews, readings, and playing some video games that are centered around giant monsters and dinosaurs. I'd really like to get Primal Rage because who doesn't want to see dinosaurs throwing hands,
Exactly. Oh my gosh, that sounds awesome. So all right, so the book's coming out October 15th. That'll be a Thursday, and then it's the weekend before that they got all the events going on. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Awesome.
Oh, so no, the weekend before is the pre-order, but October 15th is the day of they're going to have the Fall of the Kaiju event as well.
There we go. Okay, yeah. I read it backwards.
No, that's okay.
That's awesome though. So that sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. So we're going to have to make sure we've got some links up for this in the show notes. That way everybody knows where to go.
Yes, absolutely.
Lucas, again, man, where can people find and follow you?
People can find me on Twitter at RealLucasMangum, or on Instagram at RealAFLucasMangum, because for some reason Real Lucas Mangum was taken on there. I'm pretty active on both of those. Like on my Instagram channel, I'll do a lot of readings and videos and such. And then, I blog somewhat regularly at lucasmangum.com.
Outstanding. All right. Well, yeah, everybody knows I will definitely have those links in there. And, man, I cannot wait for this release. I'm going to have to check this out. That's going to be a lot of fun, man.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. I'm really excited about it too, because a lot of it was outside my comfort zone, with a lot of those big action pieces, but it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
Outstanding. Thank you for coming back on the show, man. This has been a lot of fun, and I love getting to catch up with you and see how it's going. I mean, it's we follow each other online, but this is nice getting to actually chat with you and see how you're doing. So I'm glad you're doing well, man.
Yeah, same. It's good to talk to you as well, and thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. And ladies and gentlemen, time for me to step aside and hand the floor over to our guest, Lucas Mangum, with his incredible monster book coming up October 15th, Extinction Peak.
All right. I'm going to keep this one quick, but it's from the opening chapter. When the raptors came out of sinkholes across the United States, DeAndre Antigone Merriweather's elder brother Johnny saw the chaos as opportunity. He said as much to her one afternoon while they sat in their basement. Not every house in Southern California had a basement, but their father had insisted theirs did. The nature of his business required he work underground. Plus, he was a prepper. Hiding downstairs now, Deandra thought the basement was one of her father's wiser decisions. She couldn't imagine a better place to take shelter. Outside, those less fortunate fell victim to creatures everyone but Hollow Earth theorists believed extinct. Deandra tried to ignore their neighbors' screams by counting the cinder blocks in the wall. Johnny cleaned his .30-06, whistling while he worked. Men like me thrive on chaos, he said. Well, what do you suppose you'll do when order's restored? She asked. If order's restored, I reckon I'll be a rich man by then. Uh-huh. Deandra's doubt that her brother would follow through on his plans didn't arise from spite or out of thin air. It came from 23 years of watching him vigorously pursue and subsequently abandon venture after venture. First had come the comic books, not even halfway penciled, before he left them unfinished. After that, he harbored dreams that bordered on delusions of becoming a filmmaker. His most recent endeavor, before the grid collapsed and after serving for some years as enforcer in their father's drug empire, had been starting a YouTube channel that would feature him unboxing everything from old vinyl records to sex toys. But who knows, she thought, maybe the collapse of civilization has rejuvenated him. Someone banged on the door upstairs, jolting her out of her thoughts. The strikes made the latches rattle. The knocker screamed for help. He sounded like a man, but all pretense of acting tough had drained from his voice. He cried out in shrill tones that trembled with panic. Deandra blocked out the part of her that tried to match the terrified screams to neighbors' faces she still remembered. She glanced up at her brother. His cold features said everything. They'd be offering sanctuary to no one. She never got used to the screams. These particular screams troubled her most of all. She and Johnny had the power to stop them. She stuffed down the urge to plead on their neighbor's behalf. Her legs locked into place. Going up herself to offer help was suicide. The screams turned to gurgles. The body thumped against the door as a raptor made its kill. She prayed Johnny would start whistling again. She needed to focus on something other than the wet chewing. She fought the urge to cover her ears. Despite her brother's shortcomings, she disliked appearing weak or fearful in front of him. It had something to do with him being older and the way their daddy raised them. Showing weakness made you pray. Monsters always smelled your fear. The wet chewing gave way to the clicking patter of clawed feet and a heavy, grainy sound like a body dragged across concrete. From what had to be the 1000th time this month, Deandra believed herself stuck in a nightmare. She prayed she'd wake up soon. The prayer fell on deaf ears, and why not? If the end times had come, as many TV preachers said before the grid went down, why would God spare a sinner like her? She and her brother belonged to those left behind. They came from a family of thieves and drug lords, and neither had done anything with their lives to break that tradition. Their father had impressed his sin upon them. Of course, she didn't believe in any of that religious nonsense. Their mama and daddy used to pray from time to time, but the family never went to church, and Deandra had never opened the Bible. Her knowledge of Christianity came from political rhetoric, commercials on TV, and billboards emblazoned with fear-based messages. What she saw she never liked. The church resembled just one more male-dominated system she'd have to navigate if she ever converted. Her family was bad enough. She wanted to believe the apocalypse had leveled playing field somehow. But here she sat listening to Johnny's whistles, whims, and schemes.
Oh my goodness, Lucas, what have you done? That was incredible, man. Oh, hey, that was Lucas Mangum reading a sample chapter from his latest book, Extinction Peak. The book goes live October 15th, but you can pre-order it this weekend exclusively through Madness Heart Press and pick up the bonus things that are going to be coming with it, as you heard during the episode. So click that link in the show notes for them, for Lucas, and for our podcast friends and sponsors alike. And as always, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out next week when I'm back with, actually I know who it is. It's Gary Phillips with his book, Matthew Henson and the Ice Temple of Harlem. It's going to be a lot of fun. So until then, take care.
This has been a presentation of the Project Entertainment Network.